welcome back. Today we are going to be stocking someone else's freezer with freezer meals. So one of our sweet friends is having just, I don't know, kind of just a yucky few weeks. She's been fighting a cold for the past few weeks and her husband broke his leg and just a lot of stuff going on. And I've been wanting to do something, and I woke up with this idea, like, we need to just stock her freezer. Like, we need to give her some food so that she doesn't have to worry about getting out, getting to the store, figuring out what to eat, and helping take care of anybody. So we are going to do our best to bless her and to put some food into her freezer so that she can have maybe at least a week of not having to worry about it. So we're gonna be doing, what all are we doing, Taylor?
We're doing several dinners, a breakfast and a lunch, and then some just homemade bread.
So they should have plenty, and we are so excited to sneak over and surprise them with this. So we're gonna get started, and typically, like we do normally, I'm gonna chop the veggies, which we're only doing 5 freezer meals. We're gonna do, we did kid-friendly ones. They have some kids, and we wanted to really make sure that this would be something everybody would eat. And I did things that she could dump in a crock pot. I don't know if she has an Instapot, but I know that she does have a crock pot. So we did things that she could dump in a crock pot. We did freezer fit meals, because the meals from the freezer fit website are super small. Like, it's not like bringing over a huge casserole dish. So even if she doesn't have much space, she definitely can squeeze these in somewhere, because they're in Ziploc baggies, and they'll just be dump and go really easy things. And so I'm gonna go ahead and chop the veggies, which is not a ton. I've got 3 onions, 3 stalks of celery, a couple of bell peppers over here. And while I do that, Taylor is gonna walk you through the muffins we're making. And what kind of muffins do we have?
They're blueberry muffins made with fresh ground flour we are making.
Yes. Now, just as a caveat, we're grinding our own flour. We're learning how to do that. If you don't have fresh ground flour, it's okay. You can just use regular whole wheat flour from the store. That's totally fine, and substitute in it. All right, let us get started.
All right, so this is a really easy part. We have the mill set up here, and this is super easy. You have to turn it on, but once it's on, it will be kind of noisy, but you basically just dump this stuff in and it pops right out into this bowl as milled flour. So it's really cool. So this is spelt, and this is gonna make 2 1/4 cups of flour. All right, that is it, and now we have our ground flour ready to go and make our muffins. All right, so to get started, we have this flour here, and the first thing that I'm going to add is going to be the dry ingredients, which are gonna be the flour, salt, baking powder, baking soda, the cinnamon and the nutmeg, so I'm gonna start adding those. I'm gonna have a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and last but not least, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Now what we're gonna do next is we have the dry ingredients mixed up, and you want to make a well in the middle of this. So what you wanna do here is take and push most of this up against the sides. And after we made that, we're just going to set that to the side and get another bowl to mix up the wet ingredients. Okay, so for the wet ingredients, this is gonna take an egg, some honey, oil, and vanilla. So I'm gonna start making those up. Oh, and the buttermilk we have here. A couple, here in a recent video, my sister told a story about a time when we were making muffins together. And they didn't quite turn out the way the recipe intended. Basically, it was gonna be for my birthday party, and I was planning on making muffins for my birthday party as a reference to a book that I was reading and really enjoying that had muffins at a birthday party, and it was fun. Just a fun nerdy thing that I was gonna share with my friends. And so I go and I start making these muffins. Michaela asks she can help. So I'm like, sure, you can mix up the dry ingredients. So I'm not even thinking of anything, just go and mix up the wet ingredients. And so what happened was we went and I made the muffins. She got all the dry ingredients mixed up. I put them in together, put them in the oven, came out. So all my friends show up, we're gonna have muffins together. And I'm like, okay, I've never had this kind of muffins. We should taste them together. So the three of us that were sitting together doing that go 1, 2, 3, and then we all bit into them. They were not honey muffins. It was straight salt cake. It was.
She had mixed up the salt and sugar.
Michaela had mixed up the salt and sugar and put like a teaspoon of sugar and like 2 cups of salt in my birthday muffins. There was no going back and fixing that. It was just.
It was certainly memorable.
Yeah. So that's what happened last time I made muffins. So next I'm going to add 1/2 cup of olive oil. Then we have 1/2 cup of honey. So the only thing for this project we started this morning was we already mixed up our just basic bread recipe so we could have a loaf of bread to give her. But other than that, we're doing this right now. Okay, next we're going to add a cup of buttermilk. And then last of all, we have a teaspoon of vanilla. All right, now that that is complete, we can add that to our dry ingredient mixture. So you want to pour this into the well that we made a minute ago. And you'll want to stir that until everything is nice and moist. That smells good. One of the big differences between cooking with whole wheat flour and processed flour is that if you're cooking with fresh flour, then it's going to absorb a little bit more moisture. So when you're cooking that, you want to keep in mind that you may need to add a little bit more liquid to whatever it is you're making. It works the same vice versa. If you are making a recipe and you're using processed flour where it says to use whole flour, then you might need to add a little bit less liquid. And once that's mixed up, we can add our blueberries. We have these frozen blueberries, and I'm just gonna dump those in. And that is it for our batter. So now the oven is preheated to 400. So next we're gonna put them in greased muffin tins and stick them in the oven. All right, so these are going to bake in the oven for about 20 minutes. All right, so next these are just gonna go in the oven for 20 minutes, and after that we will continue on with our journey. All right, next up we're making frozen beef and bean burritos. So this is gonna be super quick and easy. The first thing that we're gonna do is turn the skillet on a medium heat and cook our beef. And then I also have 1/2 cup of diced yellow onion that I'm gonna add to that as well. And for now, we're gonna cook this until it's just all browned. All right, now that all the meat is browned, next I'm going to just drain this off. And then we'll bring this back to the stove and stir in a few more things. And next we're going to add some seasoning bits. So first I have this 8-ounce can of tomato sauce that I'm gonna pour in here. And then you want 2 teaspoons of some taco mix. And then this recipe calls for a little bit of hot sauce. So now that that's mixed up, I'm going to set this on low and just let it simmer for just a couple minutes. And then we're going to take this off the heat and set it to the side and start working on the bean mixture over there. All right, so now that the beef mixture is done, I'm going to start the beans, and I have a can of refried beans and a can of pinto beans, and I'm just gonna mix those together. Okay, and now we're gonna start putting together our burritos. So I'm gonna take some of the bean mixture and get that on there. Some of the beef, and then some cheese on top of that. Wrap it up. And then you just fold the foil around that. And there we have it, ready to go. And you can pop these in the microwave. They're super easy. Sometimes if you make a bigger one, they will take a bit longer to microwave, but still, they're super easy to make and they're really good. Make sure that you take the foil off of them when you microwave them. And that is our last one. So there is our super easy, super quick lunch burritos. And so next we're gonna have my mom starting with a few of our freezer fit dinner meals.
Okay, so Taylor took care of our breakfasts and lunches, and now we're gonna make 5 dinner freezer meals for their family. And I believe Taylor mentioned these are gonna be from the Freezer Fit website. I'll put the ingredients down below, but I'll also put the link to the Freezer Fit program. It's fantastic. There's like 1,200 recipes on there. They're all really easy and they're delicious. We haven't really found one that we haven't liked yet. So you'll see these just come together really, really simply. But if you wanna check that out, you can. And if you just wanna make these, I will put the ingredients down below. The first one we're gonna make is chicken noodle soup because, well, what's better for an ailing friend? We're gonna have 1.5 pounds of chicken that's already cut up, ready to go, and you just dump it in the bag. And I have these little stands because it just makes things easier when you're doing freezer meals. I don't know, just dumping because it holds them up, but you don't have to have the stand at all. 1 yellow onion chopped, 2 ribs of celery chopped, 2 carrots peeled and chopped, 2.5 tablespoons of chicken bouillon, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, 1.5 teaspoons of basil, 1.5 teaspoons of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And that is all we add to the bag. Now this bag can go in her freezer or it can go immediately in her crock pot. And on here, one of the cool things about Freezer Fit is that you print off these little labels to go on there, and they have all of the instructions for cooking this. So this gets dumped in the crock pot with some water, gets cooked for 6 to 8 hours on low or 3 to 4 hours on high, and then you add some egg noodles and cook it for an extra 30 minutes until the noodles are soft, and it is ready to go. So when we're doing this for our friend, I also got the egg noodles to put with it, so she has everything ready to go in her crock pot. Moving on, Taylor's got the next one.
All right, next up we have this Crockpot pork chops and gravy recipe. This is gonna be super easy. There are only a few ingredients we're gonna put in this. So we have, first of all, 6 uncooked pork chops that are going in here. Don't do what I just did. Okay, then we have a pocket of onion soup mix and then a chicken gravy mix. Now for this recipe, we gave our friends some frozen vegetables and rice to serve this over and with, but you can do whatever you want. Then I have a cup and a half of chicken broth. And then a teaspoon and a half of garlic powder. And that's it for preparing this recipe. So to heat up this one, this is a Crock-Pot recipe. You want to put it in slow cooker and cook for 4 to 6 hours on low, and then until the pork's like completely cooked through. Then you want to take the pork out and cover to keep it warm. And then there is some cornstarch, 4 tablespoons of cornstarch and 4 tablespoons of water that you're gonna add on the day of cooking. You're gonna whisk those together and add them, and then that will thicken the gravy. And depending on how much liquid it's in the crock pot, it says you may need to add more cornstarch if you like a thicker gravy. But then you can season it, salt and pepper, turn the pork chops, and you can serve it. So it's that easy, and now we're back to Mom.
Okay, I lost one of the lenses in my glasses, so I'm flying blind this half, but that'll be fine. I'm not that blind. The next dinner is slow cooker Tex-Mex beef stew. Now in our bag to give them, we've also included some cheese and sour cream to top this with and some Burritos to serve it over if they'd like. The first thing is our 2 pounds of stew meat. Then we want 1 pound of potatoes already cut up and diced. And 16 ounces, 1 pound of corn. Ooh, this is a full bag. And then we're gonna have 1 28-ounce can of tomatoes. That's crushed tomatoes. Then for our seasonings, 4 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of oregano, 1 tablespoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and finally a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. And as with all the rest of them, this one has the instructions right on there. It's a dump and go. She just dumps this in the crock pot, and she's gonna put some beef broth in there the day of cooking, which we are gonna include for her to have. And this will just cook in a crock pot on high for 4 to 6 hours or low 8 to 10 hours.
All right, the next recipe is going to be these cheese steaks. So these are gonna be served on buns, which we are giving them. They're these longer buns, and it's like a sandwich filling. So for this, we have 2 pounds of sliced beef sirloin. I'm just gonna dump in here like that. And then wash my hands. Sliced each a green and a red bell pepper in here. We have 4 ounces of mushrooms. Then I have a tablespoon of butter, a tablespoon of steak seasoning, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, then a 1/4 teaspoon of dried parsley. Then we have a teaspoon and a half of salt. And then the last thing in the recipe is slices of provolone cheese that would go on the sandwiches after they're done, and we're bringing that to them as well. And a cup of beef broth that you're gonna add on the day of cooking. So that is it for the filling. So when you're reheating these up, the way you're gonna do these in the crock pot is you're gonna thaw it overnight in the fridge. You're gonna put this in the crock pot and cook on high for 2 to 3 hours or on low for 4 to 6. When you're done cooking, you're going to stir and mix and add the provolone cheese on top of it. Then you want to cook an additional just like 5 to 10 minutes until the cheese is already melted, and then you're good to go.
Last one, and this is a kid favorite. This is zesty cheeseburger pasta. I'm gonna take 1 pound of ground meat, put it in here, a 1/4 cup of cut and sliced bacon, 2 tablespoons of minced onion, 1 tablespoon of mustard powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 can of cream of chicken soup, 1 can of tomatoes with diced chilies, 3 cups of beef broth, and 1 cup of shredded cheese. On the day of cooking, you're gonna cook this low in the crock pot for 6 hours. Then you're gonna dump in the macaroni noodles, which we are gonna send with them, and let them cook for about 20 to 30 minutes in there. And that is the last of our freezer meals. Let's pull out everything and we'll show you what all we're bringing to our friends. All right, high five. Now we are ready for Operation, what did we call it?
I don't know.
Freezer ambush. Freezer meal ambush. Freezer meal ambush?
Well, somebody being inconspicuous would call it like Operation Toothpaste or something.
Well, we're not inconspicuous, obviously. So we've got 5 dinners. We've got muffins for breakfast, bread, burritos for lunch, and sides and things to serve it with. And Taylor picked out this beautiful pink hydrangea. Are you excited to sneak over and give it to them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This will be great.
This is gonna be super fun. I would really love to hear what your favorite sneak attack thing to do for your friends when they are just down or not feeling well or whatever. Leave it in the comments. Or what is your favorite thing that your friends have done for you to cheer you up? I hope that you've enjoyed this. This has been super fun for us. A little twist on our freezer meal norm. And yeah, we're gonna head out and bring this to our friend.